Hashem, and a beautiful Kriyas HaTorah, Tazria Mitzayra was done correctly, Ka'alacha. I have to say that I'm not like all the coolers of these days, which are unfortunately what we need to do. Just, enough is enough, this business of now that you can create a minyan outside to being davening when everyone's in a different rishus, or people davening, they're saying Birchas HaTorah from across the street. I don't know, Masha mutar, we don't have to.
Oh. How important is it for the 10 people to be able all to see all of each other?
No, I mean, look, if you're being soimach on the Shas Adchak of the Mishnah Berurah, so he says mixus Ryan Elo Halo, as long as people see each other. But some people have to see some people. But I really want to point out. One second, I got my volume on too. I want to point out that that's b'shas adchak. Mishnah Berurah says it's b'shas adchak. It's not can't do such a thing l'chatchila. That's for sure. Okay, we are in Shaar Daled Perek Ches. Good to be back.
You should probably mute themselves if they're not talking.
Everybody should mute themselves if they're not talking. On the other hand, participate if you want to talk. The muting is mostly for background noise. Just to be clear, that's the. Okay, let me just review, because it's been a couple of weeks since we've learned. We're talking about not the importance of Yiras Shomayim. Kula Alma, Yiras Shomayim is important, whether you're a Litvak or a Chassid or a Svardi or whatever you might be. Yiras Shomayim is Yiras Shomayim, and is an extremely important piece of Yiddishkeit. Nothing to talk about there. The question is, I think, two questions that we need to solve today and next time, and that is this. First of all, I don't have clear in my mind what Yiras Shomayim is exactly. Like, in other words, Reb Chaim Volozhin is setting up a whole mathematics and a visual here of, which we're going to talk about in a moment, of where the Yiras Shomayim belongs. What he's referring to is not whether to have Yiras Shomayim or not have Yiras Shomayim. He's referring to learning sifrei Yiras Shomayim almost to the exclusion of learning Torah. People are involved in in learning Musar, and a person can say, I'm a Musarnik, like I learn Musar a lot, or I learn Chassidus a lot, and by the way, I do both of those things. So there's certainly nothing wrong about that. That's all good. But the point is, that's what he's talking about. Yiras Shomayim itself, that a person should have Yiras Shomayim, that's for sure, that the Torah says, V'yaresa me'elekecha. And the question is, though, one thing I don't understand is, like, what does it actually mean, the Heftzah of Yiras Shomayim? I mean, it needs to be clarified, I think, because we use it too often. And I think the other point that needs to be clarified is, like, this whole chart, but what does it actually mean? Like, Yiras Shomayim is before you learn, during, after, like Yiras Shomayim. What's Yiras Shomayim? So until now, what we said was, and this is what's important, is that in the Gemara, and we learned the Gemara together, there are two examples of Yiras Shomayim, two mishalim, two metaphors for Yiras Shomayim. One metaphor is Yiras Hashem hi oitzarai. The Yiras Shomayim is an oitzer. So an oitzer, let's visualize a bushel basket that's holding all the tomatoes, or on a bigger level, let's visualize a silo on the side of a farm that's holding the tevuah. So that's what an oitzer is. And Yiras Shomayim, says the Gemara, says the pasuk really, im Yiras Shomayim hi oitzarai. And the Gemara says, im Yiras Shomayim, im Yiras Hashem hi oitzarai in v'im lav lav. So Yiras Shomayim is a silo. And what that means, b'nogea l'didan, is that if a person learns Torah and doesn't have Yiras Shomayim, I'm just saying the words, so then you have tevuah, but you don't have any place to put the tevuah. There's no makom to put the tevuah. That's one metaphor. The other metaphor that the Gemara says is it's a kav chomatim. Kav chomatim is preservative, which has a halachic ramifications. Dahainu, that if I sell you a kav, a basket of tevua. So let's say it's a kilo of tevua. So al pi halacha, I'm allowed to add a little bit of preservative of it. I believe it's 20%. The Shulchan Aruch says, and it's still considered like I'm selling you a tevua. In other words, you can't fill it up with all kinds of garbage and say, here's a kilo, but you can put in preservative. So now, here's a different metaphor. These are the two metaphors of Chazal that Reb Chaim Volozhin pointed out, where you have Torah, but the Torah is Torah, but the Torah has to have mixed into it a kav chamutim. It has to have some preservative in it in order for it to last or stay. The Gemara says a strong lashon about somebody who asked his gabbai, his shamus, to bring him some tevua to the aliyah, and he brought it up. So he says, did you add in some preservative? So he says, no, I didn't add in preservative. You asked me for chita. So the Balabai said that mutav shloyavesa, better you wouldn't have brought me anything. Why better? Because what are you doing? You're just wasting the stuff. It's just going to rot. Nothing's going to happen, and we're going to just smell up the house over here. So there's no point in having chita without mutim, and that's brought lahalach, as I say in Choshen Mishpah. But what's important here is you see two inyanim. One inyan is you need something called Yiras Shomayim to hold the Torah, and the other thing is you need Yiras Shomayim to be in the Torah, and by being in the Torah, it's preserving the Torah. So it's both a holder and a preservative. Yes, that's a chazar of everything we said. I come back to my. I just was thinking about it over Shabbos. The words make sense, but what am I supposed to do actually? I mean, in other words, how exactly do you have Yiras Shomayim? What is the chefts of the mitzvah of Yiras Elikecha? Before, front, right, and center, but it's a preservative, it's a silo, but what is it? What is the it? This is my bothering me a little bit, because as much as I understand it, I don't understand it. I'm not sure that I understand clearly what's wanted from me. And I do say this, I do think this before we begin the actual words of Perek Ches, which is where we're holding, that you see the correlation between Yiras Shomayim and Lishma. Just come with me for a moment. Yiras Shomayim, Lishma. Supposedly or theoretically, they're two different concepts. But it seems to be that they are the same concept. That because Reb Chaim Volozhin moves from Lishma to Yiras Shomayim with no lines. No, the flow is very simple. So Lishma means that I'm doing everything L'Shem Hashem. I was just looking today at on Shabbos yesterday. I was looking at the my Rebbe wrote a sefer on the Shav Shmaitza. Shav Shmaitza is a little sefer. It has 7 Shmaitzas, and Rav Scheinberg Zecher Tzadik Levracha wrote Igra the Shmaitza, which is 7 thick volumes, 1 on each Shmaitza. So I should have brought it up here to read the lashon. He writes the very first words, if you have the sefer, the very first words of the Chelak Aleph of Igra the Shmaitza. He writes, Bezras Hashem Yisbarach, Hischalti Lichtayv Sefer Al Hashev Shmaitza, L'Shem Hashem Levad, Be'adar Tafshin Lamed Vav. So, he was meyachid himself that everything I'm doing here is L'Shem, not just L'Shma, L'Shem Hashem Levad. There's only one reason I'm writing this sefer, which is transparent in the sefer, because just if you don't mind, I'll just tell you a little story to start off the week. But years ago, Tafshin Lamed Vav, right? So that's what year was that? Anybody know what year was that? Tafshin Lamed Vav, in the 70s. So 76. That's easy, Lamed Vav. So in Tafshin Lamed Vav, Rav Scheinberg wanted to write a sefer. He finished writing on the Ksais, and he finished writing on the Avnei Miluyim. Those are 2 Sfarim of the Ksais. Time to write on the Shav Shmaitza. He heard that Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach had written on the Shav Shmaitza, and it was never published. That's what he heard. And that's what he heard. And he didn't have such a big kesher with Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach at that time. But he heard about this. So we had somebody in Yeshiva, so Zayin Gesund, Rav Akiva Gottlieb. So he was actually, his wife, Allah Shalom, was a niece of Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. So he sent Reb Shlomo Zalman, he sent Rav Akiva Gottlieb and me to Reb Shlomo Zalman's house. I was the tag along, to Reb Shlomo Zalman's house to ask him if he can share with the Rosh Yeshiva his ksavim on the Shav Shmaitza. So we did. So we went to Reb Shlomo Zalman's house. We went up the steps. We went in. He was makabel us so beautifully. He brought us coffee by himself, I remember, and we're sitting there. So he said, "No, was kann ich euch helfen? What can I do for you?" So I told him that the Rosh Yeshiva is writing on the. She said, "Oh, he knows the Rosh Yeshiva because he had a tshuva back and forth with him on Hilchos Nida, very interesting, which is the whole Imrei Chaim based on that. And now he's writing on Shav Shmaitza, and he heard that the Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, has ksavim on the Shav Shmaitza. So he started to laugh. He said, "I have ksavim, I have old notebooks that I wrote when I was 18, 19 years old. I was giving a chabura for Bachram when I was 18, 19 years old in Yeshiva's Eitz Chaim." He says, "I have that, but I don't, it's not updated. It's not something from now." So I said, "Okay, well, that's what the Rosh Yeshiva is asking us to get. So can we have it?" So he stood up on this big ladder, and he went all the way to the top of his bookcase. It was like way up, in Shari Chesed. And he found these, I think it was 5 notebooks, Kohinar, old, faded green notebooks. And he took them from the top and he threw them down on his desk. And I remember a puff of dust came. And he says, "This is what I have." But he says, "I'm embarrassed. I wrote it when I'm 17. I'm giving it to the big Gaon, to the big tzaddik, Reb Scheinberg." So, okay, so we had a talk, an interesting talk. I'm happy to share one day. And we brought those notebooks. Now, he didn't write on all 7 shmaitzes. He only wrote on 5 of the 7 shmaitzes. But we brought it back. And I said to the Rosh Yeshiva that, he didn't have current, updated things. So the Rosh Yeshiva said, "Okay, put it down here. I'll look at it." He called me over about an hour later, and he said, "I don't know when he wrote it, but it's go'oinus." It's go'oinus nifla, he said. He says, "This is iluyishkeit. It's unbelievable what he wrote on the Shav Shmaitza when he was 17, 18 years old, coming from one of the biggest Bekiyim and Choshen Mishpat in the world, Rav Scheinberg." Now that kuntras of when Rav Shlomo Zalman was 18 years old ended up being the basis of the Igur de Shmaitza. So it's like you have the Shav Shmaitza, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and Rav Scheinberg wrote on the bottom. That's what the whole sefer is. So you're talking about that I'm starting to write the sefer L'Shem Hashem Bilvad. It was Mamash Shem Hashem Bilvad, wasn't L'Shem Shomayim. He would have quoted him here and there. He would have used him. Maybe he would have plagiarized him. But it was L'Shem Hashem Bilvad. I want to get Torah out, Choshen Mishpat, and that's later on. Rav Shlomo Zalman appreciated his own Torah, so he put out his own sefer based on that on the Shav Shmaitza. So you have now 2 things on the Shav Shmaitza, edited by Rav Scheinberg, by the way. Where he went through the whole thing. Okay, so that's my story. But the main thing I want to bring out is L'Shem Hashem Bilvad. Thank you for listening. Story. So let's look at Parakhas. I hope you have a sefer. Amnam dun mina nami. Me'inyan. Now I want to be done. Me'inyan shnei ha-misholim. Shimshilu zichroinam livracha. The 2 misholim that Chazal tell us. Binyan ha-Torah ve'ayira, on the correlation, juxtaposition of Torah and Yiras Shomayim. Hepech me'asher shagu, and what I'm going to teach you, he says, is hepech. It's punkt verkehrt, it's opposite. Me'asher shagu b'zekama mirabas b'nei amenu, of the mistake that so many people make. Shekoivim kol esek limudam b'sifrei yira u'musar levad. And here he goes strongly against the idea of people are saying, I guess people were saying, I don't know if he's talking about Musar or Hasidus or what he's talking about, but people were saying that, everybody has a chelik in Torah, and I'm more into halacha, another one's more into kachim, and a person would say, I'm more into Musar. That's my thing. I'm into Musar, I'm into Yiras Shomayim. I'm going to become a baki in Choivas Halvavos, let's say, or Mesilas Yesharim. So he says, this is a mistake. Shekamai, why is it a mistake? Mathematically, because just like you have to have a oitzer before you put in the Torah. V'chiyale klal alev ha'adam, would it ever occur to somebody, kevin shekol kiyum b'shimar atvuah ha'oitzer, that you can't, if you don't have a silo for the tvuah, what are you doing? So Yasik calls Manoy Arubai Bevinyan Oitzer Levad. So now I'm going to dedicate my life to building an Oitzer. It's ridiculous. What are you building an Oitzer? The whole purpose of the Oitzer is to put Torah in it, put Tvuah in it. La Yachnos by Tvuah Ma'ilam. Imagine a situation where a person never puts Tvuah into the Oitzer. Cain. So too, Eich Yala Alev Ish Loimar Shazet Tachlis Adam Yisrael, that anybody could have the purpose. Shiasim kol kviasli mudai bevinyan ha'itzer shel Yiras Shomayim levad. What sense does it make to spend your life building an oitzer without ever putting anything into it? It's an empty oitzer. V'hu oitzer reik. V'lay also biyadai mikol amalai rak mitzvah achas. At the end, he's only doing one mitzvah. Shel Hashem Elokecha Tira, of Hashem Elokecha Tira. That's the only mitzvah that he's doing. V'gam ein oleh Hashem oitzer klal. And then your Yiras Shomayim is not even an oitzer. It's not called an oitzer any longer, because an oitzer is something that's holding something else. So even if you're doing the mitzvah of Yiras Shomayim, you're not doing it in the intended way of it being an oitzer. So here he's telling us just a very simple thing. Don't make a miksaya out of musar. That's not the way to do it. Like Kivnu Rabbi Seinu Zichronim Levracha b'Mamarim Hanal, when the Chazal say, and here's where we get confusing a little bit, where Chazal say, Ein loy la Kodesh Baruch Hu loitzer shel Yiras Shomayim bilvad. All Hashem has is the oitzer. So if that's all he has, he's not talking about all you have is an oitzer of Yiras Shomayim, which is an empty oitzer. He's talking about that you have an oitzer Yiras Shomayim, which is full of Torah. That's the oitzer. Mikra, Mishnah, Hamoin Tvuos, Mikra, Mishnah, Halacha, Shaar Inyonei Torah, Hayira, Hi Oitzer Matayv, Shayira, Hi Oitzer Matayv. So now you have a picture of the oitzer with all the beautiful things into it. Umisham Meres, and now there's also a preservative. She's Kaimu Etzlai, Aruchim Ushnunim Befiv. This is keeping everything that you have in the oitzer, it's keeping it contained. Aruchim Ushnunim Befiv, Charusim Aluach Libai, Mashamuchach Muchrach, Mashamru, Ein Loila Kodesh Baruch Hu Beilam Eladal Amashal Halacha Bilvad. The meaning, this is how he's miyashiv the steer in Chazal. One place it says, Ein loila Kodesh Baruch Hu eladal amashal Yiras Shomayim. And the other place it says, Ein loila Kodesh Baruch Hu eladal amashal halacha. So what is it? The answer is, it's that Kodesh Baruch Hu only has the oitzer of Yiras Shomayim, which is full of Torah. That's what he wants to say. You know, I once heard when I was a kid, for b'shem the Balatanya, that, you know, the Balatanya, who was, I guess, the opposition here. So the Balatanya, even back then, first Lubavitcher Rebbe, a couple hundred years ago, he was sending out shluchim to different places in the Ukraine to be makar of the people and to bring them up in Yiddishkeit and to teach them Torah. So somebody said, like, you know, where do you find such a thing, like, you know, going out and teaching Torah, and Torah, the sefer Torah belongs in the Aron Kodesh, etc. So he said that if the Yiras Shomayim is an oitzer, he said this, and the Torah is the tvuah, and there's no point in having an oitzer if you're not filling it up with tvuah, like the Nefesh Hachaim says. So he says, but what's the point of having tvuah if you're never going to give it to anybody? Like, just to have the tvuah and the oitzer and never do anything with it, it's also nishkin good. So like, so he very cleverly, if you will, kept on going with it. So obviously, what's the point of having the oitzer of tvuah? So there's no point of an oitzer without tvuah, and there's no point of a tvuah without somebody to eat the tvuah. You know, and what you could say means halacha l'maisa, but he understood it's giving it out, rationing it to the masses. But the ikar here that I want to spend the next few minutes is these next couple of lines. Everything clear to everybody? V'chayodua.
Rabbi Haber?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, where does Avos Hashem fit in with this?
So the truth is, Avos Hashem is kavana. Kavana salev. V'ahavtas Hashem l'kecha v'chol levavcha is kavana. We're not talking about kavana here. We're talking, kavana means that I'm concentrating what I'm doing. He's going to talk about Avos Hashem, and it's mostly manifests itself in tefillah, I believe. But you don't find such a thing as like tefillah l'shma. Tefillah is mitoich hava. But I was just thinking, it's interesting. Who's that? Yoni talking? Yeah.
Yes.
You come up as Aliza. I was thinking this morning as we were davening. I just happened to be thinking, "V'hoyer einenu b'sar secha, einenu b'sar secha, v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvah v'yached livavenu le'ava u'leyira eshemecha." So it occurred to me this morning. I'm not sure exactly how the whole thing works, or you have to really figure it out. But it starts with v'hoyer einenu b'sar. Starts with einayim. From the eyes is, I guess, the input. Goes to the heart. And now I have a yichud alev le'ahava u'leyira. Like, so you have ava and you have yira, and yira seems to be down on the bottom, not because it's lower, because what's up is down and what's down is up. But I just want to just point out that it's sort of like the Yiras Hashem hi oitzarai, la'avo Yiras Shemecha. That it's got the oitzer up al korchach is on the bottom of the tefillah. It can't be up on top, and it's upside down. So the Nefesh Hachaim says like this: Chiyadua b'sharish davar, which raises my curiosity. If you look at the sharish of this, and remember we're talking about what is the essence of Yiras Shomayim. Chiyadua b'sharish hadavar. Inyan shnei abachidas shel Torah Hashem, v'Yiras Hashem b'midos ha'elyonim. If you look at what is Torah and what is Yira, and here we're coming to a very, very important thing that we've spoken a little bit about. I want to speak about it more. What is Torah? What is Yira? So we already said one's tevuah, one's the yotzer. Now we're talking alpi shayrish, alpi kabbalah. Shebechinas ha'yira leislei migarmei klum. Yira has nothing of its own. Ki nikiyaba, it's completely clean. Rakshihi oitzer base kivel, it's a base kibel, a container hashefa elyon mibchinas hatayra. K'mashikasav Hashem beheichel kadshay. Ba'ayin betikunim tikun base. Bonasbir. We said in the previous chapter, Parak Zayin, we said, and I just want to caution myself and you not to just take, you see, this is the danger of learning these things, not to just take words and put them in a place or concepts. This has got to be, we have to internalize this somehow. But Yira zu Malchus. That's the Lashon of the Zayar. Kloimar. You have the Keser on top. And then you have Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Everybody knows we're saying Spheres Omer every night. So you have all the spheres with Keser all the way up on top, which is completely Ruchani, the world of Hashem. It's not something we understand. You know, when things happen in life that we really don't understand. So that means if nobody can understand it, not the scientists and all the king's horses and all the king's men, nobody can understand that, or it's a question of Yisurim, Chas v'Shalom, that nobody can understand. In a way, Lo Yaleinu, that's a kiyum of the Keser. Because the Keser is Al Korchach Lamala Me'asogosenu. So sometimes when you see something which is, oh, why, how could it be? It's Lamala Me'asogosenu. In a certain way, it means it's more Ruchani than it is because it hasn't manifested itself in the Gashmias world, yes? Keser is on top. And Hashem's Chesed, it's hard to see. And his Gvura, we're asking for Tiferes. These are all ethereal ideas. Until you get to Malchus, Yesod really, which is before Malchus. Midas HaYesod is touchdown. And Malchus is the earth, which is Mekabel, all the 10 spheres, 7 spheres Lamata and Shalish spheres Lamata, Keser, Achas Lamala, Sheva Lamata. It all comes down into this world. This is what the avodah of the Kohen Gadol was on Yom Kippur, Achas Lamala, Sheva Lamata, trying to bring with the Hazah that which is Lamala into a place which is Lamata. So Malchus is important to remember. Let me repeat this many times. Malchus doesn't actually add anything to the mix. And that's what Chazal mean when they say Malchus leislei megarmei klum. Leislei megarmei klum means it doesn't add anything. In fact, the less that it's adding, like if you one of the things my wife always tells me is that take the wine out of the silver becher and put it into a glass because the taste ruins the taste. Like so, make kiddush a silver becher, put it into a glass. But why? Because the silver has whatever chemical reaction in it that's adding something, and it's ruining the fine wine. I'm actually not margish, but she is, okay. But so I'm not such a connoisseur. But like you want a keli, that's the beauty of schuchis, of glass. You want a keli which is loin notain klum at all. You don't want it to do anything. Once it's doing something, then it's part of the Sheva Lamat, it's part of the Sheva Echas Lamala, and you don't want to interfere with that. So the Mekubalim Zoyar makes it very clear that Malchus, which is your Keli, which is Mother Earth, Leislei Megar Meklum, has nothing of its own in it. And the Nefesh Hachaim is going to say, I think it's in Parak Yud Beis, and he says it in the Ruach Chaim, also in Parak Aleph, and that's his Pirush on Pirkei Avos. He says that, Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was Makabel the Torah, so he says at the beginning of Pirkei Avos, he was Makabel the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu was a Kli. And in order for him to be a Kli, he had to be in the Bechina of Malchus, Leislei Megar Meklum. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu had to be the on of Mikol Adam. In other words, the transmission that you're going to get from me or you're going to give to your children, it's a bit, there's a little bit something in the Kli, which I guess is good, which is adding something. But with Moshe Rabbeinu, it couldn't add anything. Moshe Rabbeinu had to be pure. Rabbi Kiva, he added, understood it, extrapolated. But not Moshe Rabbeinu. So it was a pure Kli. Could be when he came down from the Har, and he spoke with the Sanhedrin, etc., and with the Zakenim, so it could be he touched up a little bit and he added. Then he was like a regular person, so to speak, a regular Navi. But when he was Mekabel the Torah, he had to be Anav Mikol Adam, because and Nefesh Hachaim explains, he says, imagine a Kli that has thick walls. If it has thick walls or walls that give over taste, there's that much Torah that's not getting into the Kli. It could be the same size on the outside, but if it's got real thick walls, how much coffee are you going to get into this thing? So it had to be very, very thin, and it had to be, he said, I only drink coffee out of glass, I'm not good with wine, but it had to be very, very tasteless and benign, and therefore the coffee is pure coffee, and you get as much of it as possible. And the Reb Chaim in Avos, which he speaks more in Hadracha Ruchnius, tells us that anybody who has the anivus of Moshe Rabbeinu, and anivus doesn't mean I'm a nothing. Anivus means the selflessness of Moshe Rabbeinu can have the same amount of Torah and Gilui of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a fascinating thing. So the Avodah is in the Oitzer, in a way. On the other hand, where would Moshe Rabbeinu have been if he would have just been thin-walled, complete Yiras Shomayim, but no Torah, nothing would have come down from Shomayim. So what good is that? So one is Achon and one's the thing. So Al-Pi Kabbalah, Yiras Shomayim is Malchus. I want to tell you what I saw in the Ramat Bet Shemesh, a Hasidic sefer. He says, the Gemara tells us, the Torah says, the Chumash says, Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu speaks to the people, and he says, Ma Hashem Elokecha, shoel mimach, ki im li yira yisiyah. What is Hashem asking us except for to have Yiras Shomayim? So the Gemara right away jumps on Moshe Rabbeinu. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu, v'chi yira milsa zutrasahi. This is no small thing. Yiras Shomayim is a big deal. What do you mean? Ma Hashem Elokecha shoyel mi mach ki'im liyiras ki'im liyiras is a big deal to have Yiras Shomayim. You have to be a tzaddik to be Yiras Shomayim. So why are you saying ki'im liyiras? So the Gemara answers, no, what's the answer, somebody? In. L'gabe Moshe milsa zutrasehi. And for Moshe, it was a milsa zutraseh. Okay. So Hadra Kushi Laduchta is on the Mar Bet Shemesh, tell me the Baal Shem Tov. So what's the answer? The Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to the people. And they say, what are you asking? What does Hashem want from you? Only have Yiras Shomayim. And you're telling them, we're asking, well, Yiras Shomayim is a big deal. Okay, by Moshe Rabbeinu it was a small deal. So what does that help us? Makesher to us is the Hadra Kushi Laduchta. We're no better than we were before the Gemara asked this question. For us it is a big deal. And for Moshe Rabbeinu it wasn't a big deal. So Moshe Rabbeinu was chas v'sholom wrong when he said, Ma Hashem lekecha shoyim limachkim liroisi. So I saw in the Mar Bet Shemesh, Gevaldik Akasha. So I saw in the Mar Bet Shemesh, and he says, we're teaching up Zutrasi the wrong way. I'm saying Pshat, Zutrasa is a big deal, a small deal. No. Is it a big thing or a small thing? Meaning, Milsa Zutrasihi, the Yiras Shomayim of Moshe, it took up very little space. It was a Milsa Zutrasihi. It was, in other words, the Yiras Shomayim, this is a Hasidic sefer, took up very little place. Why? Because Yira is Malchus, and Malchus leislei megar meklum. You get the cheshbon? Because Yira is Malchus, and Malchus leislei megar meklum. So Mamela, the Yira, the thin cup of Moshe Rabbeinu, was hardly there. That's the whole point. Milsa Zutrasahi. So that's what Chazal were telling us, that by Moshe Rabbeinu Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching here that you have to have Yiras Shomayim, which is it's not about being anything, it's about not being. L'shem Hashem levad. It's about not being, not having my own agenda here, not having my own nagias, nothing. Okay, that's a beginning. But the Yiras Shomayim is a very, very thin-walled keli, and that's the taich of Milsa Zutrasahi, and that's the Kabbalah of Yiras Shomayim. Ki hinikiyaba, rakshi yoitzer beis kibul hashefa elyon. Mibchinas haTorah, in Torah, k'moshekasu v'Hashem beheichal kodshay. V'Hashem beheichal kodshay. So here I think heichal is always in Kabbalah, that's Malchus. Because heichal is gematria Adonai. 65. Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Heichal is Hey Yud Chaf Lamed. 30, 50, 65. Same thing. Adonai is always Malchus, meaning it's in this world. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the Sheva Lamala. So Yud Kei Vav Kei beheichal kodshay. That the Yud Kei Vav Kei is going where? Into the heichal. And the heichal is the Shem Adonai. That's why we say Baruch Atah Adonai. It already gets into the world of Malchus. Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. Already getting into the world of Malchus, where it's leislei megar meklum. So what are we doing when we're making a bracha? We're taking something from a high place and bringing it to a low place, taking bracha from shefa gavoya to shefa lamata. So let me just before we end, let's try to be mispointed. By the way, help me out with this. What does this look like, this Yiras Shomayim now? Now that we understand all the pictures and the math and visual of Yiras Shomayim, very thin cup, agenda free maybe, but what does it look like that I'm learning Torah with Yiras Shomayim? as opposed to learning Torah without Yiras Shomayim. What does it look like? The guy who's learning without Yiras Shomayim could be learning better Torah than I'm learning. I mean, sometimes some of these guys are Gaonim and they don't seem to have Yiras Shomayim. You know, Ziknei Amaretz is the worst thing because they don't know how to learn and they don't have Yiras Shomayim. Nothing. But let's say a person is a big maskil and he's learning without Yiras Shomayim. So what's ba'atzem the difference? So I have somebody want to say something? I just want to be master for this. Say something, Ephraim. You're sitting there so quietly. Yeah. Look.
More ears.
Okay. I have a feeling that what we're supposed to do, I'm not saying any chiddush, I'm just saying what I think. What does it mean to learn a little bit about Yiras Shomayim before you learn? What you're saying is to yourself, it's not even saying it to Hashem, you're saying it to yourself, that, you know, like anything in the world, I want to understand this, what I'm learning now. I want to really understand it without adding any of my own pieces to it first. Like Moshe Rabbeinu. Meaning, when you tell somebody something, everybody's had this experience, not just me. When you tell somebody something, they hear what they want to hear, right? They don't necessarily hear. I mean, people tell me over things that I said, and they mamish. I mean, not that I'm saying anything so special, but they mamish didn't hear me. I mean, like, is there a word here you don't understand? Am I speaking in a high English? Like, they mamish didn't hear because their ears are conditioned. I find this, by the way, multiple times a day, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it also. That you hear what you want to hear. It's just human nature. It's the your ears are sensitive to the part you want to hear, and then you take what another person is saying, like, okay, he said this. You take it out of context. You learn wrong pshat. If somebody's learning a Gemara, even with the art scroll, and so you're really learning right pshat, like you're not just like mistyching the words or something. You could totally learn wrong pshat. You know, you could totally learn wrong pshat unless you do this avoda for maybe a minute, maybe automatically, of getting yourself out of it. And then you'll hear what's supposed to happen. So as history went on, you have, you know, Hillel and Shammai and Rava and Abaya and Trey Talmidim Liba de Rava and Tirgama Abaya Liba de Rava. It was machlekes. So why was there was never any machlekes until Shmaya Vavtalyan. There was never any machlekes. So Shimon HaTzadik, he said the Messiah, and it was the Messiah. So we have machlekes, and that's good. The Talmud Bavli is good because it helps develop the points. But I'm just saying something else, that I'm not saying that we're lacking in Yiras Shomayim, God forbid. But what I am saying is if we want to absorb something into ourselves, so I think what we need to do for a moment is make a cheshbon hanefesh of, look, maybe I won't accept what I'm saying. Maybe I won't be able to do what I'm saying. Maybe I won't be able to teach what I'm saying because it's not politically correct. Maybe I don't even know how to articulate it. But let me take a minute and just for one moment at least absorb the truth. What is it actually saying here? What is it actually saying? I remember, we have Yom Ha'atzmaut coming up, so that's always with me a big, part of my brain says like something's not right in this Medina. Another part of my brain says, well, what an unbelievable miracle it is. So nothing brings out my schizophrenia like more than Yom Ha'atzmaut. So okay, it is what it is. But I remember showing somebody, obviously we have to give out Karas HaTayv to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for unbelievableness, and look how it's happening now, right now as we speak. I mean, just unbelievable. The Ness Hashem is watching Eretz Yisrael. But I was showing somebody what's a Chafetz Chaim al Torah. Chafetz Chaim al Torah. You couldn't get a more pure Torah. It's not complicated. It's not. It's just easy language. And Chafetz Chaim had the ability to speak to the heart of the big Talmidei Chachamim and the simple Jews. Like he just had this koach that Hashem gave him. So I think it was in the beginning of Parsha Shmini. I got to look it up, where he writes, there's going to come a time that, and I read it at my Shabbos table. So look what the Chofetz Chaim says. There's going to come a time that the Jews are going to go back to Eretz Yisrael, and it's going to be mamish karav liyameinu. We're almost there. Going to go back to Eretz Yisrael, and we're going to start a government, and we're going to all gather together, and there's going to be a kibbutz galuyos, and then Mashiach is going to come. And he literally described the days that we're living in, the Chofetz Chaim, like a nevuah. So it's the Chofetz Chaim. It's not like wasn't Rav Kook. It's not the Rabbi Chaim Zonenfeld. Chofetz Chaim. I mean, like everybody holds to the Chofetz Chaim. The Hasidim hold to the Chofetz Chaim. The Misnagdim, Sfardim, the Ben Ishchai hold to the Chofetz Chaim. Who doesn't hold to the Chofetz Chaim? I tell you, around my table, it just happened to be a group of yeshiva bachrim that week. I just read the Chofetz Chaim. He was talking about this and he was talking about that and this thing. Like as I verkrumt and verknubbelt, the whole Chofetz Chaim. I just closed the book. Look, if you can't, you don't want to say it over. It's not politically correct. It's not, but Seder, I'm not. But don't verkrum the Chofetz Chaim. The Chofetz Chaim is the Chofetz Chaim. So it's such an unbelievable thing that even simple words from a Gadol Hador that everybody hold of. It's easy. Again, I'm not saying I'm not the Gadol to say yes, no, or anything. I'm just what the halachas of that are. But you could take something so simple and you can take it out of context and say he meant this, he meant that. I have to say my Rebbetzin pointed out to me on Shabbos. We were talking about together. There's nobody here. Just me and her. But we were talking about chesed and just reading a couple of stories about inyanim of chesed. And there was a fellow who, mamish, died from this. He was unconscious from this corona lo yaleinu, and he was out. You should watch this video. It's an unbelievable thing. A Jew, I think he lives in Gibraltar, or so, and he came back. I think after 7 days. I think he woke up, and the doctors told him it was a miracle. I have no idea he was sleeping for 7 days, and he was telling over his dream about the Beis Shomala, and he was talking about that the Iker is the chesed that he did. That's what he was saying over that. And the Beis Shomala, I don't know, I don't know who to say it was a real, was it a figment of his imagination? Whatever it is, was pretty cool. But he's talking about how the Iker that the Beis Shomala cared about was that this little bit of chesed that he did and that little bit of chesed that he did, that it was lishma. That's what really made the difference, and that's why he woke up. That's what he says. But my wife made the comment. She said it's true. She was actually blaming me, but she said, whenever comes an opportunity for chesed, I want to do this for this person. Everybody chimes in. When she says everybody, she probably meant me. When everybody chimes in and says, yeah, but that's not good. They've got to learn how to do it on their own. And they're going to become dependent, and it's not a good thing, and it's your gaiva, and it's your this. And she says, just do the damn chesed. Words are mine. There's a million pilpulim right after there's the kav ha'or ha'elyon, which is so nucky and so pure and so beautiful, until we go and we mess it up. So I'm not saying to go without cheshbonos, but that's what I think is the atzmius of Yiras Shomayim, is the oitzer, is the moment of creating the malchus within ourselves, malchus. And by creating the malchus, that which goes in, which is Torah, is completely ours. It's not agenda driven. It's not driven by our laziness or our taivas or anything. It just is. It just is. So that's the what I'm starting to feel. And please, just help me with it as we go on. I think that's the practical Yiras Shomayim that we need to do, which is the malchus. Yira hi malchus u'malchus leislei migarmei klum. That's the synopsis of this whole paraches of the Shaar Nefesh Hachaim. All right. Anybody want to say anything before we hang up?
I have a thought. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I had the feeling that what you were trying to say is that you need a sense of Yira before you learn anything. I'll give you an example from a different field. If I want to come into a professor's lecture and I feel that he has nothing to teach me, and I lack a sense of Yira, I'm not going to learn from that professor if I feel that he has nothing to teach me. I know already too much, and he's not going to add to it. But if I come into a lesson feeling that I need and I want to learn something, and this is a person who can teach me, then I have a sense of yira towards that person. If I extend that thought to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the essence of yira means I need to accept his guidance with regard to everything that's involved in kiyum mitzvot and learning Torah. Because otherwise, I lack that precondition.
Okay, Ephraim, emes lamita. 100% emes. What can be wrong? 100% emes. All right. I wish everybody a good tvach and a good chodesh, and you should have a safe week, and we should have besuras tovos and shmos tovos.
Amen.